Hey, a few weeks ago I was metal detecting a local river and had some great success, but it was a challenge carrying everything and constantly going back and forth to the shore to search the debris pile. So I'm putting together today on this video a floating metal detecting sieve. If you want to learn more about that, if that's piqued your interest, stay tuned. We'll see if we can figure this out together. Pretty deep. I think I need it out. Just gorgeous.
Remember, if you like these videos, hit that like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Ding ding.
Hey there. Listen, do you metal detect in some lakes or rivers and struggle with both holding the equipment and, finding a place to dump your digs, to be able to search the debris for your artifacts, for your coins? Well, I saw some guys on another YouTube channel use a metal detecting, a floating tray that they would use to sift the dirt to find the relics. So I thought today I'm gonna try to put together something similar to that using some scraps around the house. Okay, folks, we're in my garage here. First of all, let's just talk about some of the materials that I've chosen to use. So I have some scrap pieces of lumber. This actually is PVC. This is not wood, that I'm going to use for my frame, okay? This is great. I happen to have it laying around. PVC, it's plastic, so it's going to be weatherproof. If you're going to use wood, I would use treated wood. I am going to rip this. I'm going to rip this so I get a few more pieces. I'm going to probably go about two and a half inches. And I've picked up what's called some hardware cloth from my local hardware store, and I specifically wanted this type because it's nylon. It's nylon. I am going to be using my pinpointer here throughout the time I'm using this, and I don't want it obviously to be hitting on the metal here, but I chose this one. It's the right diameter. Okay, I don't want coins to fall through this. Could I lose an earring through this? Yeah, absolutely. You can double this up to narrow the gap in here, but this is what I'm going to use. Once I assemble my frame, here's my loose idea. I'm going to drill some holes in the bottom of the frame, and I will be using these cable ties to secure my hardware cloth to this frame. I will have to use some screws. I've chose some that have a small washer, a wafer on the top to secure the corners of the frame. I'm just going to do butt joints. I'm not going to angle these today in the interest of time, and I think that'll be sufficient. I'm going to also, with those cable ties, my plan is to wrap around the edge of my frame some pool noodles. And that's kind of the loose idea. That's a loose idea. So I'm going to go ahead and get started here doing some of the ripping of this wood, and let's see how it comes together. Okay, so the next question is, how I know my width of the floating device here, but I need to determine the height, and I think what I'm going to do is have this be about 2 inches tall. Okay, so that would be the height right here. So imagine a rectangle, if you will, 2 inches tall. I will probably shorten the actual length as well. I'm not going to need it that long, so fine-tuning the measurements here and let's get these assembled, and I'll show you the final product here before we put on the hardware. Okay, so we now have our boards cut. They're of similar length. Now we're ready to start assembling. All right, I've opted to countersink the sides here because the screws that I had on hand are zinc. These are not waterproof, so I will seal this with a dab of silicone, hopefully to prevent some rust. All right, one other thing I've done here is drill some holes that are going to be on the base of the floating device here, and these are going to be where I'm actually going to attach, okay, my cable ties. Okay, now it's time to start assembling the frame here. I have to flip this board over on the other side, and we'll be good to go. Now you can see I have my hardware cloth unwrapped. It's laid out on top of my frame. And I should have mentioned, I took careful note to make sure that I was not making my frame too wide, so wide that I would have a gap in here. I could run the hardware cloth the other way if that were the case. That would be fine. You could overlap it. But I'm going to do a little bit of trimming here of these pointy edges, leave a little bit of an overlap, so that when we actually, put our cable ties on here, that they will be secure, okay? All right, so what I've discovered here is I really think drilling these holes in here was a waste of time, only because the hardware cloth has a bit of memory to it, this plastic hardware cloth, and if I were using these, the areas that are not pinned down, that are not tied down, were kind of fraying up. So I ended up just using the bulk of, I did use a few of these just to see, if it was provided any better stability. It really doesn't. So I think my recommendation would be probably skip those and just use cable ties around the entire hardware cloth. That's what I think I'm gonna do on the rest of this. We'll see, I may use a few of those holes. But next thing is, I wanna get this taut. I'm gonna do that side next, and then I'll do the long sides. Okay, please stop me. These things are addictive, and I've gone crazy on these, but as you can see, I've got it fairly taut. Is it strong enough to support the stuff I'm gonna be dumping on there? We will see. I may put another strap or two in here, something else to give this a little bit more support, but for now, we're gonna go ahead and trim these and get our pull noodles on. All right, I've got my first pull noodle assembled here, and I ended up using these pre-drilled holes only because my cable ties were not long enough to go around both the noodle and the wood. So keep that in mind when you're buying your cable ties. So now I'm going to trim this end off, and I'll finish the rest of the frame and see if it's floating. If not, if I need to, I'll add another layer of another round of noodles here inside just to increase the buoyancy. Okay, I wanted to take a moment here and show you one of my prized possessions here. This is my 1974 Cavalier Coke machine. I don't know if you remember these back in the day, but these types of machines were quite popular in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. There's a door here, a vertical door that you would use. After placing, of course, your coinage in the slot, it would enable you to pick the beverage of your choice. Bottle caps were really important because they, of course, told you visually what that item was. And again, after you insert your coin, you would pull out your bottle, right? Your particular beverage. I happen to call this a Coke machine, and I do indeed have it stocked with Coke and Pepsi, but I also have it stocked with a few other beverages as well. But let me show you how this works. My brother-in-law actually helped me disable the coin mechanism. Some people like that, but for me, for my friends, the price is free 99. Free 99, folks. Doesn't cost anything. But these were quite ingenious. The Coca-Cola distributor would come, or the store owner would come, okay, and you restock this by using these vertical shelves. The depths of the shelves here can be shortened or lengthened depending on the size of the bottle. And as a bottle is pulled, okay, the other ones roll down into place. So really, really fun thing. You can find these in the shape like this one. This has not been restored. You can find these on eBay, Facebook Marketplace. They retail for anywhere from a few $100s, $400, $500, $600, well over, you know, $1,500, $2,000 for some of the restored ones. But just a little bit of history here with regard to Coca-Cola and my 1974 Cavalier Coca-Cola machine. All right, learned a few things. Maybe would do a different design here, but as I said, let's see what we could discover together. So let's look at the finished product here. So one thing I wanted to point out, I also made sure to put my pool noodles not on the side, okay, but on the bottom of my frame, because I actually, ideally, you know, I want this netting to be above the water. I may have been better off going with a larger noodle to get a little bit more distance, because as we all know, you know, water's often, it's not always calm, there's waves and stuff like that. So, you know, I may need to replace these noodles with some bigger noodles just to get some more height from the water to my mesh right here. But also, who knows, we don't know yet if indeed this is buoyant. You know, fairly light. I think the PVC material is slightly lighter than treated hardwood, don't know, but seems to be fairly light. And I don't know, what do you think? Maybe a little too big, maybe big. Again, I wanted to have enough length to make sure that I could rest my detector on there. The only other thought is to possibly put a few notches in here to rest, so you can actually rest either your detector shaft or your beach scoop. So that's an easy fix. I may do that on both sides just so it doesn't roll into the water and I have to go searching for it. Anyway, I'm gonna take it down to the river. Let's give it a try and test for buoyancy. All right, we're back on the dock here. We're gonna give this floating metal detecting station a buoyancy test here. So, oh, that's just great. That's just great. Let's take a look at that. Okay, so floating, you know, great. I really don't know about those big pool noodles. I do want to see how well, you know, it supports my beach scoop. That's plenty, okay? And you can see while I'm above the water, you know, with the waves, some of the waves are just coming to the point, you know, where the hardware cloth is, the nylon or plastic netting. But I think that'll be sufficient. But if I had a recommendation, I would actually go with the bigger pool noodles. I think those would actually be better. So I am gonna notch out a few areas here on the end, just so this is a little bit stable. And I'm also gonna hook up a nylon strap. You know, you wanna have this either tied to your finder's pouch, your belt, your waist, whatever, so that it doesn't drift too far away from you. But again, this should be, you know, pretty hands-free. Try. I hope this is helpful to you all. I'm gonna take it out this afternoon and give her a test. Let's take a look. You never know, we may have had 2 items in here. Do we see anything else in there? Okay, let's see what we have in here. Oh my gosh, really excited here. Just found what I think is a... And listen, as always, thanks for watching these videos. If you like them, hit the notification bell, hit the like button, subscribe, drop a comment below. If you have some better ideas with regard to the design, hey, have at it. I'm sure there are some better mousetraps out there. Why don't you let us know what works for you so we can all learn together. Thanks a lot. Happy digging.